Snow falls over a busy street, families everywhere, Christmas lights, joy, chaos. A little girl skips alongside her parents, announcing to anyone in earshot that today was the best day ever. Our guy, tall, broad-shouldered, and perpetually inconvenienced, steps aside as yet another cheerful family nearly walks straight into him. Ju-1 inner monologue. Asterisk every single time. I am literally 6 feet of obvious and nobody sees me. I am architecturally significant and yet somehow invisible. He dodges left, then right, then sighs. Then stops. Because somewhere between the joy and the noise, it hits him. He's the only person on this entire crowded Christmas Eve street who is completely, utterly asterisk alone. Not dramatically alone, not movie trailer alone, just quietly, profoundly alone. He spots the subway entrance and starts toward it until something on the ground catches his eye. A man sitting in the cold, full Santa costume, holding a cardboard sign. Make a wish. Ju-1 blinks. He remembers, today is Christmas Eve, the same day he lost his parents years ago. He sighs, digs out some cash and a snack, crouches down, and sets them gently on the sign. Quick, painless, no eye contact, in and out. The old man grabs his wrist. Santa Claus. With the grip strength of a retired arm wrestler, thank you for your kindness, young man. Ju-1. You're welcome, can I have my hand back? Santa. Tell me your wish. Ju-1. Sir, I really have to. Santa. Not letting go. I cannot return to my village until I grant the wish of a truly good person. You are that person, wish. Pulling with full effort, going absolutely nowhere. Are you on something? The grip does not loosen. Santa's eyes are dead serious. Ju-1 tries again to free himself. Still nothing. He is being held hostage by a man in a red suit who apparently has the wrists of a seasoned blacksmith. Ju-1. Exhausted. Fine, if I tell you, will you let go? Santa. Yes. Ju-1 opens his mouth to say something sarcastic, and then something unexpected happens. A real memory surfaces, something honest and a little painful. Ju-1. I want to win the lotteries. Santa. That is not your real wish. A sports car. Santa. Also not your real wish. Silence. The crowds keep moving around them. Families, couples, children with parents, all of it flowing past like a river, and Ju-1 is a rock sitting still in the middle of it. Ju-1. Quietly, almost against his will. I want a family, a wife who doesn't leave, a daughter who's really cute. The old man goes very still. His eyes turn red. Santa. With terrifying sincerity. I will find you a pure wife and a daughter who respects you. I promise you a happy and joyful life. Ju-1. What? Okay, you are absolutely out of your mind. He wrenches his hand free and bolts. Behind him, Santa cups his hands around his mouth and bellows into the night. Santa. The other Santas are cheering for you. Ju-1 collapses into a train seat, breathing hard. Ju-1 inner monologue. That was a delusion, a sleep-deprived, grief-flavored, Christmas-induced delusion. I gave money to a man with boundary issues. I said some embarrassing things, and now it is over. Done, moving on. He stares at a family advertisement across from him, smiling couple, cute kid, warm lighting. Ju-1 inner monologue. I just want to be happy like everyone else. Is that genuinely so much to ask? He closes his eyes. He smells something strange. A wave of intense cold washes over him. He wakes up shirtless, in a moving wooden cage, surrounded by chained strangers, under a sky he doesn't recognize. Ju-1, Ju-1. Santa, what did you do? The cage rattles over a dirt road. Around him, other prisoners sit in miserable silence. 2 guards outside speak in a language he's never heard. The architecture is stone and timber. There are no electric lights. There is nothing resembling the 21st century anywhere. Ju-1 inner monologue. Okay, I'm in a wooden cage, medieval setting. Nobody is speaking Korean. I am shirtless. Either I've been transported to another world, or this is the worst airbnb in human history. He spots an unconscious prisoner nearby with a full set of clothes. He bows to the unconscious man, apologizes sincerely, takes the clothes. Ju-won inner monologue. I will make this up to you spiritually, probably not, but the intention is real. Days pass, the wagon rolls through forests and mountains. At every village, a man who looks like the local boss comes to inspect the prisoners and select workers. Ju-won, objectively the most physically impressive person in the cage, straightens up every time, flexes subtly, maintains eye contact, tries to look capable and hireable. Nobody picks him. Not once, not at a single village. Ju-won inner monologue. I am 6 feet of free labor, and not one person has expressed interest. This is somehow worse than my job interviews. He slumps on the wagon floor, hollow-eyed, staring at a fork someone left behind. He squeezes it in his fist. He thinks of his mother, her steady voice always telling him to work hard and live well, to keep going no matter what. He thinks of what he told Santa, a wife, a daughter, something to come home to. Something shifts in his chest, and just before he reaches the edge of his despair, a woman appears at the cage bars. She's beautiful in a quiet, tired way. She holds out a piece of bread. Behind her, peeking out from her skirt, is a tiny blonde girl with enormous eyes. Ju-won stares. The fork hits the wagon floor with a clang. The next day, the guards yank him out of the wagon and throw him face first into the dirt. The other 2 prisoners beside him are dispatched with glowing scrolls and casual efficiency. Ju-won inner monologue. They have magic here, of course they do. A Santa with supernatural grip transported me here, naturally there's magic. The village chief leans close to a guard, whispers something. The guard whispers back. The chief's eyes sharpen with sudden interest. Ju-won has no idea what anyone is saying. He is smiling politely like a lost tourist. Later that afternoon, he is marched into a small wooden cabin. Inside, the woman, the bread woman, she's terrified. An older woman sits beside her. The village chief announces something with great authority. The terrified woman makes the face of someone who has just been told the building is on fire. The chief points at Ju-won. Ju-won points at himself, confused. Ju-won inner monologue. I think I just got married. The woman Riji, he'll learn later, is trembling, not in a flattering way, in the I have been through something terrible and I am deeply afraid of what comes next way. Ju-won looks at her shaking hands and makes a quiet decision. He sits down on the floor, cross-legged, deliberately distant, hands visible. I'm not going to be whatever she's afraid of. Meanwhile, rewind slightly. Here's what Riji's life looked like before the wagon showed up. A village chief knocked on her door and told her she was getting a new husband. Just like that, no discussion. Her previous husband had gone hunting and never come back. The village said wolves got him. She had felt, briefly, relief, then immediate dread. A widow without a husband in this world is unprotected, targeted. She had one comfort, a 5-year-old girl with no name and no parents, the daughter of the dead man, who had crawled to her side on her worst night and just stayed there. Regine named her Dorothy. So when the chief comes knocking again, new husband, be ready, she is not thrilled. She just holds Dorothy and hopes, desperately, that whoever they send is the kind of man who will simply leave them alone. The tiny blonde girl is 5 years old. She has the energy of 12 children and the appetite of a medium-sized bear. She likes Ju-won immediately, which surprises everyone, especially Ju-won. On their first morning together, Dorothy walks directly up to him and stands with her arms outstretched, waiting, very serious about this. Ju-won, you want to be picked up. She nods extremely formally. He picks her up, she grabs his face with both hands and examines him like a scientist with a new specimen. Dorothy, something in her language. I don't know what she said, but I would absolutely die for this child. An older woman from the village visits Riji and lays out the situation plainly. The new man doesn't speak the language. He has soft hands and feet like a noble, suspicious, and the soldiers say he's a commoner with mana. Nobody really knows what he is. Riji's only ask is simple. She doesn't need comfort or wealth or a heroic husband. Riji, holding the woman's hands, eyes wet. I just hope he isn't aggressive. I just want someone who will leave us in peace. That's it, that's the whole wish, just peace. She doesn't know yet that the universe sent her a man whose deepest wish was almost exactly the mirror of hers. The cage wagon stops near the cabin. Dorothy spots it first, her eyes go wide and she points excitedly. Reggie looks. She sees the man in the cage lift his head. She recognizes him, he's the one she gave bread to. His eyes widen too, he recognizes her. For a moment they just stare at each other through the bars, two exhausted people in an impossible situation, trying to figure out what on earth is happening. She's holding bread again. He looks at it with an expression of profound emotional complexity. The guards pull Juwon out. There's a brief tense moment with the chief, some muttering about Mana, and then, that afternoon, he ends up in Reggie's cabin. The chief formally introduces him as her husband. Juwon enters, sees her terror, sees Dorothy peeking around a corner. He does the cross-legged on the floor thing. Reggie stares. She has never in her life seen a man choose to make himself smaller. She doesn't know what to do with this. He recognizes her and gives a small, awkward wave. She stares some more. Days settle into a rhythm. Juwon doesn't know the language. Reggie doesn't know his. Dorothy operates on her own frequency entirely. But things get communicated anyway. He notices she flinches at sudden movements. He stops making them. She notices he checks on Dorothy's blanket every night. She watches this happen 3 nights in a row before she lets herself believe it. Dorothy notices neither of them is paying attention and attempts to eat directly from the communal pot. She is caught every time. She tries again the next day, relentless. Juwon finds a large tree in the forest and decides to practice chopping firewood. He is strong. He has an axe. How hard can it be? He swings once. The entire tree snaps at the base and crashes to the ground. He stares at the tree. The tree does not respond. I may have overcalibrated. He returns to the cabin with a massive basket of perfectly split firewood in record time. Reggie runs to the door worried. Dorothy's eyes go wide. He sits down heavily on the floor. Dorothy runs to get a cloth, dunks both hands in the water bucket enthusiastically, leaving a trail of wet footprints, and then leaps onto his chest to wipe his face. He is startled, then he grins. Reggie bursts out laughing. Juwon inner monologue. This is the happiest I have ever been in my entire life. That is insane. I am in a cage world with no running water, and I have never been happier. Out by the well one morning, Reggie sees Juwon approaching, and something snags in her memory. There's an old rumor, a legend. A country at war summoned a hero, a warrior with completely black hair and completely black eyes. She looks at Juwon's hair. She looks at his eyes. Reggie inner monologue. No, definitely not. A legendary summoned hero would not be assigned to a widow's cabin in a mountain village. That would be absurd. He waves at her cheerfully. She waves back, heart doing something strange and unhelpful. They're standing close together in the cabin. The mood is warm. Something domestic and soft is happening. And then Juwon, without thinking, acting entirely on instinct, leans forward and kisses Reggie on the forehead. He pulls back, realizes what he did, grabs a bucket, leaves the house at significant speed. Juwon inner monologue while power walking through the forest. We have been married for 1 day. We don't speak the same language. She was trembling when she met me. Why did I do that? He eventually comes back, water bucket in hand, acts completely normal. Then they end up close again while handling the wolf meat, and he does it a second time, except this time it's a kiss on the lips. She turns into a statue. He turns to leave and walks directly into Dorothy, who has been watching from around the corner with enormous eyes. Reggie spots her daughter. Reggie. Sounds of pure mortification. She flees the room at full speed. Juwon and Dorothy look at each other. Juwon inner monologue. The 5-year-old is handling this significantly better than either of us. After the incident, Juwon escapes into the forest with his water bucket to collect himself. He is doing fine. Everything is fine. He is a completely normal man who did not just panic flee from his own kitchen twice in one evening. A giant wolf steps out of the shadows. Glowing red eyes, teeth like daggers, the size of a large horse. Ju-won picks up a stick. The wolf eats the stick. Ju-won punches the wolf. His fist catches fire. Ju-won. What? The wolf is now on fire. Ju-won is on fire. Everything is on fire. Ju-won climbs on the wolf's back and hits it repeatedly with his flaming fist until it stops moving. He lies in the grass next to the defeated wolf, looks at his arm, completely unburned, not a mark on it. Ju-won. I used magic. He sits up, raises his hand dramatically toward an imaginary target. Fireball. Nothing. Ju-won. Firestorm, firewall, flame burst. Absolutely nothing. His hand is just a hand. Ju-won inner monologue. Fantastic, I have superpowers that only activate during wolf attacks. Very practical, very usable. He throws the wolf over his shoulders and walks home. Inside, Reggie and Dorothy are doing evening chores when Dorothy screams. Reggie grabs a knife and sprints to the door and nearly stabs her husband, who is standing there casually holding a horse-sized wolf like it's a bag of groceries. She runs at him with the knife anyway, momentum. Ju-won. It is dead, Reggie. The wolf is already dead. She stops the stairs. Then she hugs him, just suddenly, without warning. Dorothy wraps both arms around his leg and cries into his shin. Ju-won stands in the moonlight with a dead wolf on his shoulders and his new family clinging to him, and thinks, I told myself I wouldn't make them cry. It's day 2 and I've already failed. I need to be better. He skins the wolf inside. He watched his grandfather do this exactly once 15 years ago. Ju-won inner monologue. It is significantly harder than it looked. My grandfather was extraordinary. I miss him deeply. While Ju-won works on the wolf pelt, Reggie appears in the doorway with a bucket to help carry the meat inside. He tries to thank her in her language, mangles the pronunciation. She looks up, surprised he tried. She smiles, a real one. He stares at that smile longer than is professionally appropriate, and then pretends to be very busy with the bucket. She tries to say thank you in his language, gets it almost right. He laughs not at her, just purely delighted, and thanks her for trying. She turns red. She has never been thanked for something so small before. Reggie inner monologue. He's thanked me for carrying a bucket. He's thanked me, like it mattered. Morning, he calls her to the doorway while filling the water bucket, says something in his language. She doesn't understand. He thinks for a moment, points at her, says carefully, softly, darling. She goes completely red from her ears to her collarbone. She turns around to hide her face. Her neck betrays her entirely. She's so easy to fluster. This is the most fun I've had in years, and I live in a medieval cabin. Dorothy chooses this moment to launch herself across the floor and crash into both of them, shouting for breakfast with the energy of someone who has never heard of patience. The tension evaporates, they both laugh. Dorothy locates the meat and attempts to climb inside the pot. That evening the family sits down to a real meal, actual food, properly cooked, eaten together. It is the greatest dinner of Ju-won's recent life. Dorothy eats approximately her body weight in food, then falls asleep, mid-meal, face dangerously close to the bowl, still holding her spoon. Ju-won and Reggie both notice at the same time. They look at each other. They try not to laugh. They fail completely. He carefully picks up the sleeping girl, carries her to the bed with the gentleness of someone handling something irreplaceable, and tucks a warm blanket around her small shoulders. I need to protect this, whatever it costs. I need to protect exactly this. Late, everyone should be sleeping. Reggie is in the kitchen, boiling a cloth to clean the household items. Ju-won appears behind her, silent as a cat for a large man, and gently holds her wrist, stopping her. She turns, startled. He looks at her with an expression that makes the room feel smaller. She raises the cloth and dries the sweat from his neck, Then, realizing what she's doing, she lifts his shirt to wipe his side. He lets her come, watching her with a quiet smile. Then she realizes what she is doing and waves her hands in absolute horror at herself. He takes her hands gently to calm her down, lines his face close to hers. Ju-won, very softly, let's go to sleep. She breathes again. They walk out hand in hand into the small lit room off the side of the cabin. She wakes up warm. That's the first thing she notices, warm and not on the floor. She's in the bed, somehow. She remembers falling asleep on the cold wood boards. Her husband's arm is under her head. He offered his own arm as a pillow while she slept without waking her. She lies there and thinks about this for a long moment. Then she pulls herself closer to his chest and thinks about how completely her world has changed. Dorothy, also using his other arm as a pillow, yawns loudly. Ju-won inner monologue, waking up. I have two people using my arms as pillows. I cannot feel my hands. This is the best morning of my life. While out chopping wood, Ju-won senses a presence. A hooded old man emerges from the shadows, stern, evaluating, looking at Ju-won like he's reading a very interesting document. Another mysterious old man, at least this one isn't grabbing my wrist. The old man, a veteran hunter, has been watching the cabin for days. He saw the wolf tracks. He found it absurd that a rookie who can't hold a weapon properly somehow killed a monster that would challenge experienced hunters. Then he noticed the bite mark on Ju-won's arm, nearly healed, overnight. His eyes turn a suspicious shade of excited. Old hunter inner monologue. This giant, ridiculous, soft-handed outsider might be exactly what I've been waiting for. A detour into the past. The old hunter was once a vigorous young warrior. He came to these mountain villages, seeking to make his name as a guardian. He learned too late why the locals only gathered wood from the shallow edge of the forest. He went deeper. He found the monsters. Giant green creatures that ruled the mountain's peak, that stole women, that had been doing so for decades while the villages stayed quiet and pretended not to know. He survived, barely, scarred and furious. He spent decades since then waiting, biding his time, mapping every nest. He can't do it alone, he's old, his body won't do what it once did. But he just watched an outsider punch a giant wolf until it caught fire. The old man smiles slowly. Old hunter inner monologue. My chance has finally arrived. The old man makes Ju-won some kind of formal offer. Through gestures, tone, and what Ju-won can piece together, he's being asked to become a hunter's apprentice. Ju-won bows politely. The old man notices the bow, weight balanced back, guard never dropped. This man has no formal training, but his instincts are sharp. Old hunter inner monologue. I'll teach him everything, but first, a contract, so he can't just leave when things get hard. He presents something. Ju-won has no idea what he's agreeing to, but signs anyway because he has reached the phase of this adventure where he simply accepts things. Next morning, Ju-won is barely awake when the old man is already waiting outside the cabin. He peeks through the door at the hooded figure in the yard. The old man turns and smiles. It is the smile of someone with a very specific and slightly unsettling plan. Ju-won inner monologue. He looks exactly like a human resources manager about to deliver bad news. Before he can process this, Rigi appears behind him, blushing furiously, carefully packing a lunchbox for him, wrapping it like it's precious, fussing over it. Dorothy sprints across the cabin and presents the lunchbox to Ju-won with both hands and enormous ceremony. Ju-won inner monologue. Someone packed me a lunch, someone made me food and put it in a box and wrapped it carefully. I need to be worthy of this lunchbox. He points at Rigi and tries to say return safely in her language, gets the pronunciation almost right. Her face lights up. Dorothy immediately repeats the phrase perfectly and points at him, requesting the same. Ju-won inner monologue. The 5-year-old is a better language learner than I am. I need to do better. The old man walks for a very long time, through dense forest, up steep terrain, past things Ju-won doesn't recognize. Ju-won inner monologue. How much further? What is he showing me? My legs are fine, but my patience is not. The master stops and demonstrates the strange straight bow, a weapon Ju-won found baffling at first glance. The old man draws it, holds, releases. The arrow buries itself into a tree trunk hard enough to send splinters flying. Ju-won tries, he pulls the string back like it's made of paper. The master blinks. He corrects his arm position and tells him to shoot. Ju-won shoots, he memorizes every word, every movement, every correction. I'm going to learn everything, all of it. I'm going to become the kind of man who can solve his own problems, who never has to watch his family be frightened again. Then the master tells him to put the lunchbox away. Apparently the smell of cooked food attracts monsters. Ju-won inner monologue. My wife made me food with love, and I cannot eat it because it will summon a beast. This world is genuinely exhausting. Back at the cabin, Dorothy lies in her bed and sings. It is an original composition. It covers the blue sky, Ruji's beautiful hair, the hero's dark hair, which she finds very interesting, the meat from dinner, how full she is, how the meat is still growing inside her tummy, how she hopes the tummy shrinks faster so she can eat more. It is an absolute masterpiece. She watches her mother laughing softly while working in the corner and thinks about how much more Ruji laughs now, since the big man came. Then the worry creeps in, it always does. What if he leaves? What if he takes only Ruji and goes? What if she's too small and too useless to be worth keeping? Her old father's voice surfaces in her memory, calling her a burden, a waste of food, useless for not being a boy. Tears start building in her big yellow eyes. Then she hears a sound outside. She sits up. She has a very important job. There is a meat bucket. It must be guarded. She runs. Priorities. While Ju-won is still out training, 3 men from the village appear in the yard. They are cowards, the specific kind who feel powerful only when nobody larger is watching. They accuse Ruji of stealing their meat. She cries, tries to explain. Her husband hunted that animal. The big blonde one laughs. Another shouts that her first husband is dead and she's an ungrateful thief. They shove her hard to the floor. Dorothy watches from the shadows, trembling. She recognizes these men. They were there in the old bad days too. The men threaten to burn the cabin down if she tells her husband. They grab the wolf pelt, Ju-won's first hunt, hanging on the wall like a trophy, and start rummaging through everything. Dorothy can't stay hidden. She bursts out of the cabin screaming Ju-won's name at the top of her lungs. In the forest, Ju-won hears it. His daughter's voice, screaming his name. He does not walk. He runs. He arrives to find his wife on the ground, 3 men, his home ransacked. Something cold and very focused settles over his face. The first man turns around at the sound of heavy footsteps. Ju-won's first connects before he finishes turning. The second man gets a knee to the stomach that folds him completely. The third throws a punch. Ju-won dodges, lifts the man off the ground, and introduces him to the dirt. He is not finished, his eyes glow, his fist builds energy. He grabs the last man by the collar. Ruji, shouting his name. He turns. The third man lunges from behind with something sharp. Ju-won catches his arm without looking, like catching a cup someone dropped. The man starts shaking. The old master appears at the scene's edge, calm as always, and says 2 words, points at the house. Ju-won looks. Dorothy is at the window, crying, terrified, not of the thugs. Of him. Every drop of fury drains out of him instantly. The thugs are dealt with, the yard goes quiet. Inside, with smoke rising gently from the chimney, Ruji sits and processes what she just watched. She saw him destroy 3 men in seconds. She saw his eyes go dark in a way that made her breath catch. For exactly 1 moment, she thought, I'm next. Then she looked at him, really looked, and saw nothing in his eyes but desperation, pure, frantic desperation to protect them. The same desperation she felt the night she realized she had to keep Dorothy safe alone. He was not frightening. He was terrified for them. She looks up, he's standing in the yard, saying her name quietly, that low, sad way he gets when he thinks he's done something wrong. He saw her face, he saw that one moment of fear. And it broke something in him. Regi inner monologue. You enormous, ridiculous, gentle man, I am not afraid of you. She stands up. She walks out. She shouts his name full volume until he looks at her. She walks to him and takes his hands, those huge, calloused hands, the hands that just floored 3 men without effort. She holds them against her face. She has no words in his language, she barely has them in her own right now. But she holds his hands to her cheek and looks at him, steady and clear, and hopes that says it. It does. He exhales like he's been holding his breath for hours. Tears run down her face, not from fear, not from pain, but from something she doesn't have a name for yet, something new. Only this certainty. These hands will not hurt me. This time, finally, I am safe. Somewhere far away, in whatever village Santa Claus calls home, an old man with red eyes turns to his fellow Santas. Santa, I told you. The other Santas cheer. Like and comment for next part.